Princess Catherine's wardrobe, when it began to draw inspiration from South Asian traditions, prompted a wide range of responses, highlighting a clear contrast between intention and execution. Her clothing choices showed careful attention to color, silhouette, and surface detail, yet they also exposed the limits of interpreting cultural fashion without direct engagement. What initially appeared polished and respectful later prompted debate about authorship and depth, before giving way to a more considered and informed approach. Several of Catherine's early looks inspired by Indian dress relied heavily on visual references rather than cultural authorship. Flowing silhouettes, ornate embroidery, rich jewel tones, and decorative motifs echoed the aesthetics of Indian fashion, but the garments themselves were largely produced by British fashion houses. Labels such as Temple A London, Jenny Packham, Anna Sway, and even high street brands offered designs that borrowed surface elements of South Asian style while remaining firmly rooted in Western tailoring. Visually, these outfits were polished and elegant. The fabrics moved beautifully, the color palettes were thoughtfully chosen, and the overall styling was refined. However, critics noted that these clothes felt more like interpretations than representations. They reflected an admiration for Indian design, but not a direct engagement with the designers and traditions that shaped it. South Asian designer Onita Prasada later described the overall wardrobe as disjointed, pointing out that none of the pieces fully conveyed the depth or diversity of Indian fashion. Her criticism was not centered on aesthetics alone, but on authorship. When cultural motifs are removed from their original makers, fashion can risk becoming decorative rather than meaningful. In contrast, outfits influenced by Bhutanese dress traditions were received quite differently. These looks were more restrained and cohesive, favoring structure over embellishment. Clean lines, layered tailoring, and balanced proportions reflected the quiet discipline of Himalayan dress rather than its ornamentation. The result was subtle, controlled, and notably respectful in tone. The most significant shift came when Catherine's wardrobe began to include garments created directly by South Asian designers. These outfits marked a clear change in approach. Instead of adapting cultural references to Western formats, the designs worked within established traditions while remaining wearable and contemporary. Pieces by Pakistani couturiers demonstrated careful attention to cut, length, and movement. Scarves were integrated as essential elements rather than decorative afterthoughts. Fabrics carried texture and weight, often hand-woven or traditionally dyed, giving the garments a sense of authenticity. From a royal fashion perspective, this contrast highlights an important lesson. Cultural dressing is not simply about choosing the right colors or patterns. It is about recognizing whose voices are represented in the garment itself. When designers rooted in those traditions are involved, the clothing gains credibility and depth. Catherine's later choices suggest a growing awareness of that distinction. By engaging specialists in Asian couture and listening closely to their guidance, her wardrobe became more coherent and more convincing. Fashion, in this context, functions as a language. Early attempts relied on translation, borrowing familiar symbols to communicate respect. Later choices showed signs of fluency, an understanding that true representation begins with authorship. In Catherine's case, her South Asian, influenced wardrobe tells a quiet, but clear story. Not of perfection, but of learning. And in public life, that willingness to listen and adjust may be the most powerful statement clothing can make. Do you feel Catherine's later style choices show a deeper understanding of cultural dressing, or should expectations be different for someone in her position? Share your thoughts in the comments, I'd love to read them.